I'm Glenn McGuinness, and this is Outburst. On the program, do you believe Canada is prepared for national security threats?
We should have the capability to, be prepared, and we're not.
I hope so.
No.
I think we are well equipped for any and all national emergencies.
But first, the debate on whether or not climate change is something we can control continues. It's widely thought that stopping or at least slowing down global warming can be achieved by cutting greenhouse gas emissions. But we continue to watch as extreme weather events seemingly get worse every year, not only here in Canada, but around the world. So, are we past the deadline to make any significant shift in our environmental behavior? Or is there still time? Our question.
Is it too late to prevent climate change?
We're getting pretty close to a tipping point, and so that's part of the reason that we need to have some fairly robust approaches. But everybody's got to do them. You can't just do them, on PEI or even just in Canada. It's got to be a global approach, I think, and that seems a bit problematic now. Australia's just switched its leadership away from a very kind of coal-based, not very, what would we say, global warming insensitive leadership to a more activist one. So, hopefully it'll happen, but it is a bit worrying.
Oh, I think we all have to do our part, for sure, and I certainly try to do mine on a personal level at home. I still have lots of hope. I think that, I think we just need to keep heading in the right direction. I think we'll get there.
I was just looking at some reports on how there's so much plastic waste that goes in and is being exported out of Canada in different countries, and there are so many other G20 nations which have signed a pact in which just to deal with climate change they are in-house doing a lot of recycling on waste and stuff like that, and even on emissions, right? So we know that we have policies in place to make sure electric cars are introduced, make sure CNG is introduced, but in terms of where we are on the ground, I think it needs to be much more.
Yes, but I'm trying to be an optimist right now, so I'm going to say I think that the government can do so much more, and I think through COVID we've seen that right now they're able to enact those kind of policies like a snap, and they can do them, so I'm still trying to hold on hope for my generation.
So it's tough to say at this point. There are a lot of new factors coming up, new natural disasters, like back in New Brunswick, the air pressure and everything's changing so much that tornadoes are beginning to form. So I believe climate change is there, but it's not too late to change it. Just everyone has to pay attention and do what they can if they want to live here longer.
Hopefully it's not too late. I believe in that as a humanity we can make the changes and come up with solutions. I hope we can.
No, I think with the proper leadership and organization, I think there's always the possibility to curb and at least reduce. Our carbon footprint is never permanent. It's just a matter of taking the time and attention and treating each other well enough to do it. So I think with enough focus, we certainly could curb it.
Oh no, it's never too late. It's never too late because this is our planet. And, there's a lot of people that are saving it. So it's never too late for climate change. That's what I believe in.
No, but we're going to have to do something very quickly. It's getting out of hand right now. I think enough hasn't been done. It's all lip service about how we can taper in the emissions and so on.
Oh, yeah, it's too late. I believe, in India we had a problem. Like you say, every day the temperature is going from 35 to 40 degrees in May, like you say. This is due to climate change only. We don't believe, and especially rich country like America or China, they don't believe in this. They keep on telling every other country, do this, do that. But they themselves using a lot carbon.
I don't think so. I think every person has a responsibility to do what they can to minimize the impact on the environment. So I try to do that by never using anything once, particularly plastic.
I don't think we can get back to ground zero, but I think there's a lot of things we can do to stop it from continuing to disrupt our environment. I think that there are parts that we can manage and possibly reverse, but do I think we can go back to ground zero where everything is clean and pure, and no, absolutely not.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the different degree scenarios and all the projections, I think it's going downhill pretty fast. And I think even if people would get their act together and start changing, I think it's quite likely that it's too late.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I agree. It's quite urgent. I mean, maybe it's not that late yet, but it's time to make a move.
We may be running out of time, but I don't think it's too late if action's taken soon.
When we take what we're talking about is people don't feel the power that they can make change, and so instead of trying to do big things, that we did small things, it does matter, and that idea there is something I can do, you know, there's no great switch to flip. It's about personal decisions on a daily basis.
Oh gosh, well, I suppose not. No, I think that I think technology is at a point now where, with the constant advent of electrical vehicles, for example, and current investments in renewable energy, I believe that there is slowly but surely a change towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly products. However, the question is, will we be fast enough? Because there are constant reports that we are kind of at the point of no return, constant reports that if we don't do something radical by this date, as in like 2 or 3 years from now, then it'll be a point of no return. And so the question is, are we fast enough? And I don't think so.
We need to take care of the earth, or else, you know, it will affect our food supply, it'll affect our mental health as well, which it's already been happening, really. Like, people have disconnected from nature. Being here in the city, I've noticed it. I feel more mentally not as stable as I would be if I was connected to the earth, so yeah.
The race to become the next leader of the Conservative Party of Canada continues as we head towards the leadership election, which will take place in September. It's been a heated battle between candidates right from the beginning, and one of the most divisive leadership races we've seen in a long time. But the hope that the next leader will bring this party back to the promised land could be one element that is keeping this party together. And the outcome could have an effect on us all, even if you don't vote Conservative. So, have you been paying attention? Our question.
How closely have you been following the Conservative leadership race?
Moderately, I think they're in disarray. I don't know if they can salvage anything before the election, so it's kind of it's a nothing burger right now as far as the leadership race.
Zero, not closely at all.
Why not?
I'm not interested in it. I have zero interest in it. When the candidate appears, I will engage.
Not really, no. You know, I'm because of what's been going on in the past 2 years, I've almost lost my interest in politics. I just feel like everybody's corrupt, and I just have so little time for it. And that's unusual for me. I'm quite political. I've campaigned, I've worked on things, but what's going on right now, it's really difficult to trust that we are being governed.
I am. I think that the recent statistic of, I think, about 600,000 Conservatives have been registered to vote. I think it's quite astonishing. We are seeing a race, a Conservative leadership race that really hasn't been seen before in terms of popularity. I mean, you have Pierre Poilievre, whose social media presence has sort of made him a substantially popular figure. And he has a lot of followers, dedicated followers, and which is sort of reflective of the growing populist movement that's occurring in Canadian politics, specifically in Conservative politics.
Probably not as close as I should be, if I'm fully honest with you. Why? Well, for me, there's, you know, with my life, just a lot going on. So with work, trying to do that, paying attention to school. So I try to, I've been trying to do more, but, you know, and like I said, I probably should be doing more, but it can be tough sometimes. So that's just me personally, you know.
Not particularly. There'll be a lot of blunder and hot air for a while, and someone will get elected, and then they could start saying totally different things after that too. So we'll wait and see what happens. Yeah.
How do you feel about the candidates that they have?
They seem, I don't know, I haven't looked into them. Yeah, I haven't looked into them.
I haven't been following it in the sense of, been that really interested in who wins it. I've been following it just because it's on the news, and it's always kind of a bit of a comedic relief at the end of the day. Yeah, but I'm not following it as a conservative person, no.
To an extent, not too much, but yeah, somewhat. So I feel that they have policies, that they're just talking about it, but then when it comes to implementation, that's where we kind of see, not really much steps being done on the ground, and that's what's hitting us the most, I believe. So it's one thing to say that we will be doing this in terms of policies and change, but implementation is another story.
Not as much as I should be, honestly, but I think it's because personally as a student I've been viewing the Conservative Party as a little bit of a joke recently in terms of their leadership, so just watching them continuously choose someone that's not actually representing Canada, it's just kind of not on my radar anymore.
I'll say I usually was a Conservative, but I've been kind of changing my mind a bit. I just find it almost reminding me of the Republican Party, and I am totally against that. So I'm more into the middle, and I'm not into a left or a right. I find them too far one way or the other sometimes, and that doesn't really appease me at all. So,
it's going to be interesting to see who takes it. It's a struggle, coming up with the right angles. They're all politicians, so it's tough. It should be interesting.
In what year did the Bluenose first appear on the dime? 1937, 1957, or 1977?
37.
57.
57. I'm going to go with 37.
I'm going to go 57.
1977?
1937.
It is 1937. Good for you.
The Bluenose was featured on the Canadian dime for the first time in 1937. Nicknamed the Queen of the North Atlantic, the Bluenose was a world-class racing schooner and fishing vessel built in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, and launched in 1921. However, after the original Bluenose unfortunately sank off the coast of Haiti in 1946, a replica was built in 1963 and named Bluenose 2. To this day, the vessel is still iconic in Nova Scotia and continues to grace the Canadian 10-cent coin.
Recent events around the world have brought on new and increased demands for Canada's military. The crisis in Ukraine, tensions with China, or even protecting our own sovereignty, particularly in the north, has some wondering if Canada would be able to properly defend itself if need be. For years, there have been calls for the federal government to invest more money in the military. Canada's Defence Minister Anita Anand says this country will be ready, willing, and able to meet any challenge they face both here at home and abroad. So, if the worst-case scenario did happen, would we be ready? Our question.
Do you believe Canada is prepared for national security threats?
I suppose it depends on what the threat is, whether it's domestic or international. I think in both cases, we have good international ties, we have good trade relations with a bunch of other countries, and so I think we are well equipped for any and all national emergencies.
Well, we've had the great luxury of living between two giant oceans. And so you can't imagine what you haven't experienced. People have often moved to this country to get away from violence and to get away from war. So we've been populated by people who are seeking peace and willing to be better neighbors with each other. And so that idea that we're here because it's safer is something that we also believe in a way that is kind of magical. And so we hope that we're a model for the world rather than vulnerable to the world.
I think we'd be able to handle it, but especially with all the stuff that's kind of going on in the world right now, it really depends on the scale. I think we'd be okay, but if there's something, if something gets out of control with what's going on in the world, really it'd be tough for any country.
Probably you could, but given the might of some of the competition, I would think that you'd be swamped and need help from America or England or Europe or NATO, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I had a son in the armed forces and a nephew in the armed forces, and I don't think they do enough to train them or spend enough money to prepare. They have people, but I know firsthand what they do, and they don't do enough. They don't do enough training. They don't have the equipment to do their jobs. So they're underutilized as far as I'm concerned. And we should have the capability to be prepared, and we're not.
I think you can always be a bit more prepared, but how much further are we willing to go without and give up certain, things that we take for granted now? So it's a trade-off.
I hope so. I think we all like to feel safe and go to sleep at night, and we have a newborn son, so we're always hoping that leadership is competent and is prepared for that always. And I always have faith in our leadership, especially in Canada. So tentatively, yes. Yes, until I have a reason not to, yes, I do.
No, definitely not. Depends on it depends on what comes up. But yeah. No, I don't think we're prepared at all. We never have been. We weren't prepared for the first war, we weren't prepared for the second war or Korea, quite frankly, until we got into it. And then it starts. I'm just, been a student of history all my life, and all you got to do is look back and see how well prepared we were. By the end of the second war, we were a big deal.
I think militarily and from the security agency's point of view, we're probably okay. From a general population point of view, I think there's maybe a certain degree of a certain blasé approach to the world that it'll never happen here, and I think that's wrong. I think that we've got not a very good chance, but there's certainly a possibility of something becoming quite significantly dangerous to us all from a national security point of view, whether that's truck convoys, whether it's an outside intervention from some country, and that can be a physical intervention, it could be a cyber attacks or whatever.
Well, I don't think it's just coming right now. But eventually, yes, if we don't deal with the situation at hand, that's where we are going. But if it's an immediate threat right now, I don't think so. But at the same time, we need to start working right now to make sure that does not eventually happen.
Yeah, I totally think so. I think that sadly, COVID gave a voice through the internet to people that wouldn't normally have that kind of platform and that side of impact. And I think that is absolutely a concern, but I don't think that it's more Canada. I think that's just countries that are now able to hit that sort of population.
I doubt our ability to react cohesively to any large threat, illness, or anything like that. So yeah, I'm a little hesitant to believe that leadership can really get organized quickly and effectively.
I'm not quite sure of that. They should be if they're looking ahead. There's lots of stuff going on, but are they ready? I don't know.
No. We will only find out if there is a threat. We'd like to think that under the surface something is happening, and that we won't have to show our strength if that happens. But it's not widely advertised, and maybe that's part of the protocol.
I think they're semi. I don't see their full capacity of keeping us safe, because when it comes to that kind of stuff, you don't mess with it. You stay on top of it, man. You stay on top of that all the time. No questions asked.
As much as any country, I think. I think we're known for our technology, and it's a technological approach that's required today. So I don't know. Again, this is a trust issue. Do I trust our government? Do I trust the agencies that are responsible for, safety? Because it's a safety issue, really, threats. I don't know. It's really difficult to say. I feel we're very poorly informed, and a lot of it's around the silencing and controlling of open journalism.
And also, Canada's not so much in a favored nation status anymore. We actually have some enemies out there. China, that's never happened before. Everybody liked Canada. We were everybody's friend, and now we do have some enemies out there. So, yeah, I think it'll be something. There will be enough budget put in to prepare us. I'm sure there's going to be rehearsals or whatever they do to make sure they are prepared. So yeah, I feel confident that's going to happen.
The federal Conservatives and NDP are calling on the federal government to bring forth new measures to help shrink the ever-growing cost of living. The Conservatives in particular are asking the federal government to suspend GST on gas and diesel and put a freeze on the levy for carbon emissions, otherwise known as the carbon tax. Those who are more environmentally conscious may think a carbon tax is an important tool to keep emissions low. But is this something Canadians can afford to pay right now? Our question.
Should the carbon tax be removed to help bring prices down?
Well, I don't know if specifically the carbon tax reduction would be the solution for it, but I do think we need to do something to reduce the costs on the average Canadian family.
I believe we should because it's become very problematic, especially people who are looking for jobs. Like I myself work at parks, PA National Park, and I notice all the organizations around the boardwalk in Cavendish have not been able to find work due to the gas prices. From people I know, they can't afford it, so they can't take the job.
The carbon tax itself is a good thing. I don't have a problem with that. I think we need to be taking some pretty serious steps if we're going to address issues related to climate change and carbon usage. The way that they've chosen to do it here on PEI is a bit different from other places. We haven't really seen the kind of the back in your pocket kind of approach that some provinces have had. Right now, I'm kind of content to let it sit the way it is. As it starts to increase, I think there need to be some different ways of looking at reimbursing people for those extra costs.
Canadian oil in some ways should be left within Canada for processing, and as a result of that, perhaps there could be a reduction in tax as well because the prices of gas are just extreme. With that being said, though, I do understand, the challenges with, bringing oil into Canada.
No, I don't. I don't enjoy paying it like everybody, but at the same time, I mean, it's there, and I'm glad to see how the money is being spent on the schools and stuff that I saw that it was originally spent with way back when it first came out. I hope to see that continue. As I said, I mean, I'm looking at buying an electric car myself, so it won't be an issue for me much longer, hopefully.
Not at all. I think it should be going up. I think we need to use this opportunity to use it as a green shift and head towards more electric vehicles and get more subsidies from the government to do that. So.
Yeah, I really do believe that carbon tax should be reduced. Not entirely, but it should be reduced significantly.
Why is that?
We have to think of working class people. Not everyone's making $100,000 a year.
Out in Alberta, Canadian government was giving a rebate, so to kind of absorb part of the carbon tax. So I don't know. We haven't really felt it coming across the country. It's been pretty standard. Actually, I think we saw the prices go up as we came across, but hovering around $2.20 or $2.10. So, yeah.
It's a lot, but driving's a luxury, so.
Yeah, we drove out too, so it didn't stop us from making the trip.
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because gas is too high, and they need to take this. Like gas is about 66% taxes to begin with, so they need to bring it down.
I'm not super familiar with the carbon tax. I'm not sure how effective it ever was, but I'll lower it. Yeah, let's lower it.
Yes, I think the carbon tax should be lowered, if there should be one at all. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm.
And what do you think it should be lowered to?
0.
And I don't even know what the money's going for. So, can someone tell me what the money's going for? Like, tell us that you're doing something with it, then that might make it a little more justifiable. Hey, we're gonna do this technology or that, or we're using the money for this. But I don't personally hear too much of that. So,
I mean, is it going to make any difference? Those are such little things, I don't really care. Honestly, it's like the license sticker. We have a problem with the economy. Let's look at the big picture and not these micro changes. The carbon tax was nowhere on my radar. I don't even know how much it is. So I just think that's insulting to us that they focus on the minutia when we really need sweeping changes in how to bring pricing back in line so that people can live.
Say if we did a trial
We did it. We took the carbon tax away, okay? We took the carbon tax away, and we say, listen, you're going to see how much more this is, but let's be more creative in how we spend our money then, all right? You're going to get a lot more money if we reduce this tax, if we take away this tax. You know, and then, you know, perhaps people will do things better for the environment with that money if we educate them on how to take care of the environment better.
No, I think we pay too little for what we have to not be responsible for how we use what we use. And I think prices should be fair for the cost to the environment. I think that's an important thing that people need to know. Not everything is, you know, like fast. Take your time, think about what you get, and use it for as long as you can.
I think that's a tough one as well, because we need to do something to make companies liable for what they're doing and for some of their practices. I see a lot of malpractices that organizations do. So I think my answer would be no. I think we should keep it to make sure they do something.
I don't see anything wrong with lowering it temporarily or suspending it temporarily if it means saving Canadians some expenses. But I don't think it should be removed permanently. Because I think that the carbon tax is effective in sort of regulating the amount of carbon emissions that we are emitting.
I think there should be more awareness, not a carbon tax, because that does not bring awareness, right? We need to educate people about the importance of taking care of the earth, and then there might be then an incentive for people to do that. But the carbon tax is just a tax. And there's no understanding. People just pay it and they don't even understand why they're paying it. And if they do, then is it actually making an impact in the sense of the environment?
Maybe temporarily, because realistically, you know, moving away from fossil fuels and like, you know, combustion engine cars and stuff like that, that is objectively the future. But right now, it's, you know, for the short term, it's hurting a lot of people, and it's making like commuting, getting to work, just general travel, general lives is making it very difficult for them. So maybe, you know, like we know it's the future, and in time it will be good, probably short term even, but like for right now, maybe it's best, because really if people aren't able to make things work, like run the economy, just everything, we can't get to work, then everything's going to crumble. So short term, probably best to remove it, but not scrap it entirely.
It's a pretty small thing to say carbon tax is affecting the fuel price when there's record profits by the oil companies. What you're looking at is a market commodity that people are betting on Wall Street that are affecting the fuel prices much more than carbon tax.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.